This is Paul McKenna for PT Boxing. I'm here today with promoter Eddie Hearn.
You come down from Liverpool this morning?
Yes.
Fair play.
Thank you.
Your barnet's all over the place. You look like it was an early start.
It is. Do you like it?
I'm not
no?
sure.
Not fancy it, no?
I'm more of a quiff man. The basing went out of the arc, do you know what I mean?
We're here today at the press conference in London for the next show, September the 12th at the O2. Headlining that show, Anthony Joshua against Gary Cornish for the Commonwealth title. And a really big undercard as well, so it's going to be another great night at the O2.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony's first big title, if you like. You know, I think the Commonwealth title's always been one that's important when you go down that route. Obviously, the Dylan White fight is lined up for the winner for British and Commonwealth. But, you know, the Commonwealth title's one that obviously we've seen the history of it. You know, Lennox Lewis beat Derek Williams for it, defended it against Razor Ruddock, and then fought Tony Tucker for the WBC title. So I think Anthony's, you know, almost going to be like for like in that respect.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the Cornish fight because, you know, like I said in the press conference, it's the first live opponent. What I mean by that is someone that's actually coming to win the fight.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys talk a good game, but when you're 21-0 and you've never lost as a pro or an amateur, you don't turn up to survive. And he's huge as well. And he's a lot bigger than Josh, which again is a good challenge in itself.
Yeah, most definitely. As you've just touched on there, he's 6'8", he's a big man, and you know, he's fairly young, and you know, of course he's coming for the win, so he's coming for the upset. Big undercard, John Wayne Hibbert against Dave Ryan.
It's a great fight. I mean, they're both mad for taking the fight because it was an absolute war, but it's what people want to see.
Yeah.
And you know, we've got that fight. We've got obviously Boylan against Connor. You've got Dylan White on the bill as well. Another big domestic fight I'll announce in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Tommy Martin, young Reece Bellotti, Jake Ball making his debut, Ted Cheeseman making his debut. So it's a big London bill. And you know, we've sold thousands of tickets in the first couple of hours because Anthony Joshua is a huge draw.
Yeah. Obviously, as you just mentioned yourself, you know, after September the 12th, it's lined up for November, December time. No date announced yet for Dylan?
No, December 12th is an option.
Which again will be at the O2.
Yeah.
You know, next step after British is European.
Sure.
Obviously a couple of defences first, but we've just seen the heavyweight European title fight with David Price against Erkin Teta. Big upset. You know, a lot of people did think Price was going to come through successful, and he was obviously stopped in the second round. Did you watch the fight?
I saw the knockout, yeah, and I mean it wasn't a long fight obviously, but I felt that David would win the fight as well. But it's hard to criticise David Price because he's such a nice bloke, but something's not right.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know whether it's emotionally, mentally, but he's better than that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether the Thompson losses have ruined his career, but he's not looked the same fighter since then.
Yeah.
You know, I got criticised because I made some comments on Sky about his fight in Germany. He didn't look right.
Yeah.
You know, and the knockout punch wasn't like a horrific, shot.
Like a devastating shot, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here. But for us, Erkin Tepper is an obvious choice after Dylan White. And you know, we'll certainly look to make that for the European.
Okay, obviously we're just off the aftermath now of high stakes on Saturday at the Manchester Arena. It was a great night. It had its ups and downs. The atmosphere was really good in the arena. You know, it was I think there was 14, 15,000.
13, 14, but you call it what you want. I like that bet.
Scott Quigg, first of all, absolutely destroyed Kiko Martinez within 2 rounds. A little bit, you know, cautious at first, but as soon as that shot landed in the second, it was game over.
I was watching the first round thinking, wow, and he knew that Martinez would do that. But he said that he wanted to feel his power, you know, and he needed to know at what point he could stand and trade. He said after the first round, I thought, actually that's fine. Yeah. And then he decided to stay in the pocket and trade with him, and as soon as he did, it was over. Yeah. His punch play is so underrated, Scott Quigg, when he's on it. And you know, he stopped all these guys. The Hidenori Ataki fight that went 12 in Liverpool, he'd done his hand after 3 rounds. So, but his size and power is so underrated that, you know, you saw the way he took Frampton out, and eventually took Frampton out, but took Martinez out, and the finish was absolutely relentless. I mean, it was vicious. Yeah.
As you just mentioned there, Frampton fought on the same night, obviously in his debut over in El Paso. Everyone expected it sort of to be a breeze for Frampton, but it didn't. You know, that wasn't the case. He had to get up off the canvas twice. Eventually, you know, he battled through and got the win on points. But you know, if anything, that just makes the fight so much bigger, you know.
Because I think there was a sense of people really started fancying Frampton in the fight, and then on Saturday it just went boom the other way.
Yeah.
It's a 50-50 fight, always has been. I just can't see Frampton living with Quigg's power, and especially after Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's difficult though, because Frampton just didn't look up for it. Like when you're over there,
yeah,
and no one really knows who you are, and they don't get huge crowds over there, and there isn't a great atmosphere. It's quite flat, and it's quite hard to get yourself up for it. And I think that's where the first 2 knockdowns really came from, the fact that he was flat.
Yeah.
He was 30-odd to 1 on to win the fight. And the guy, you know, I've had a bit of sticks through saying that he's the 11th or 12th best super bantamweight in Mexico, but he is. So, like, you know, and people say to me, oh, he was tough, that Gonzalez. But yeah, if Quigg boxed him, he would have been the worst opponent of all time.
Yeah.
And Quigg would have taken him out early, in my opinion. And everyone would have gone, oh, what's he, like a taxi driver in Mexico? So you can't have it every way, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there you go.
You know, I seen an interview just after the fight with Frampton, and he said, you know, as you've just said there, a lot of people were probably fancying Frampton at first, and now it's just turned the opposite way. Obviously, you're going to go in and make them an offer if that fight were to happen, but, you know, is it difficult from the promotional aspect? Obviously, you made them a good offer, 1.5 million, made them 60-40 to the winner. But if anything, over the weekend, Scott Quigg's
exactly right, yeah.
gone up and Carl Frampton's gone down.
I talked before the fight about making them a new offer on Monday, but I don't think anyone would deny that after Saturday, Scott Quigg is in a better position than he was on Friday.
Yeah, most definitely.
Not saying, you know, people say, oh, but he's not in a better position than Carl Frampton. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he's in a better position than he was on Friday.
Yeah.
So therefore, if that was our offer on Friday, how can we go back today with a better offer when he's now in a better position than he was?
Yeah.
So it almost needs them. I mean, I'm sitting down with Al Heyman's team early next week to talk about a lot of things, and that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
They might want him to go and box in America again, in which case we're happy to fight Nonito Donaire. He's even happy to fight Rigondeaux.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he has to. Who else is he going to fight? People aren't going to accept him fighting, you know, 11th, 12th, 13th in the rankings. It has to be a big name. So, and he's up for any of those fights.
Yeah, you know, as you've just mentioned, Rigondeaux there, I've seen his manager put on Twitter that, you know, they were seriously considering moving up to fight Lomachenko.
I had a chat with Gary Hyde last night about it, and I said, look, this fight will happen, whether it's next or whether it's spring, summer. Eventually it's going to happen, because I think it's the top 2 super bantamweights in the world. Yeah. And Quigg will fight Rigondeaux, but it has to be it's my job to make it the right deal.
Of course.
And Quigg needs probably one more big win for the Rigondeaux fight to be pay-per-view, and once it is, he's okay for that fight.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, Quigg was only one of the 2 world title fights on the night. Anthony Crolla in a draw. Almost feels like a disappointing result, because a lot of people, well, everyone personally I've spoke to and seen, think Anthony Crolla won that fight, especially with the point deductions. You know, you put a formal complaint or letter into the WBA. Do you think that they're going to, you know, now issue the immediate rematch?
I think there's a decent chance that the WBA will order the rematch. I also think there's a decent chance that the that we might just make the fight with Darlis Perez. Yeah. I hope they do, because, like you say, I haven't spoken to one person yet who called it a draw or called it for Perez. So how can everybody be wrong? Yeah. Judging is subjective, you know, we know that. But when you take away the dream of a young fighter like that, it's horrible, and especially with everything he's been through. Exactly, yeah. But, you know, it's a tough sport, and you've got to dust yourself down and go again. His stock has risen incredibly, and I believe he'll get another shot at the world title in his next fight. So fingers crossed it's Perez, because I think he can beat him again. Hopefully he does. Undercard, 2 British title fights. First one with Chris Jenkins and Tyrone Nurse, ended up in a draw. A few people thought that Nurse just nicked it by a couple of rounds. They both kind of switched off between like 6 and 10, and then it hotted up. And obviously Sam Eggington looked fantastic against Glenfoot. Boxing skills have improved greatly. He used to just stand and trade. But I told him and John Pegg that at 21, your career will be over by 24 if you box like that for another 3 years. So, he stood and traded at times, but he was cute, and it was a big win. Now the WBC International, British, and Commonwealth welterweight champion. Yeah, that's it for us today. Thanks a lot for your time, Eddie, and we'll catch up with you in Hull soon. Thanks, Paul. Thank you.